Let's be real. The Afcon knockout stage is a completely different animal. Flair is great, it's what we love to see, but experience, discipline, and just plain smarts, that's what wins trophies at this point. So in this explainer, we're going to skip all the hype and get right into a purely strategic breakdown of two huge round of 16 matches. So here's what we're diving into. We're breaking down two massive games. First, Algeria versus DR Congo, and then the defending champs, Ivory Coast, as they take on Burkina Faso. And look, the goal here is super simple, to give you clear, logical betting angles that are built on strategy, not just a gut feeling.
And this question really gets to the very heart of knockout football, doesn't it? Is it all about those incredible moments of individual magic, or does the smarter, more disciplined team usually grind out the win? Well, when the pressure is this high, strategy often comes out on top.
Okay, first up, Algeria versus DR Congo. I'm calling this one the professional win, because honestly, it has all the makings of a masterclass in controlled, disciplined football from a team that just knows how to get a job done.
This right here, this slide just perfectly nails the dynamic of this match. On one hand, you've got Algeria. They're solid, they're organized, and they are incredibly difficult to break down. And on the other side, DR Congo. Yeah, they're competitive for sure, but they are fundamentally a cautious team. Understanding this clash of styles is absolutely key.
19. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's the one to remember for Algeria. They have not lost in regular time in their last 19 matches. Now, this isn't just a fun stat about being in good form. It's a pattern. It shows a deep resilience. It tells you they know how to manage games and grind out results when it matters most, which is just invaluable in a knockout tournament.
So, when you start piecing it all together, the case for Algeria becomes crystal clear. Their form is undeniable. They have way more knockout experience, and their entire style of play is built around controlling the tempo of the game. But here's the crucial part. DR Congo's cautious approach plays right into Algeria's hands. They would much rather stay in the contest than risk it all to go for an early win.
So, based on all that evidence, our main pick is a pretty straightforward Algeria win in regular time. It's just the most logical outcome for a team that knows exactly how to navigate these high-stakes games.
But hey, you always have to look at the other side of the coin, right? You have to consider the risks. Algeria is carrying some defensive injuries, so a complete blowout is pretty unlikely. This opens up some really smart alternative bets. If you look at the slide, you'll see under 2.5 goals looks really solid, especially given DR Congo's style. And a halftime draw is very, very possible, as both teams will likely spend the first half just feeling each other out.
All right, let's switch gears to our second match, which we're calling the momentum play. Ivory Coast versus Burkina Faso is a fascinating clash, and this one is really defined by soaring confidence meeting a critical squad issue.
The story here is pretty simple. It's a high-flying attack going up against a compromised defense. The defending champions, Ivory Coast, are riding this massive wave of confidence after a huge comeback win. They are an absolute attacking force right now. Burkina Faso, on the other hand, while they are disciplined, are walking into this with a major defensive handicap.
And folks, this right here, this is the single most important detail of this entire match. You cannot ignore it. Burkina Faso are missing their #1 first-choice goalkeeper. Now think about that. In a knockout game against a confident attacking team, how big of a problem is that? It's a massive, massive problem.
So you can see why this makes the case for Ivory Coast so incredibly compelling. They've got that powerful attacking momentum from their comeback win, they have the big game experience that comes with being defending champions, and they're facing an opponent with a glaring weakness right where it hurts the most.
So yeah, for all those reasons, our main pick here is also going to be a straight win for the favorites, Ivory Coast to win in regular time. The combination of their attacking form and Burkina Faso's key absences just makes this a deeply logical conclusion. But what about the risks? Well, don't be surprised if Burkina Faso's low defensive block, which really just means they'll pull everyone back and defend deep in their own half to stay compact, keeps this game tight, especially early on. But here's a really interesting alternative: both teams to score. And why is that? Well, because Ivory Coast can be a little vulnerable at the back, and Burkina Faso are definitely good enough to punish any mistakes they make.
All right, let's put it all together. Here is your final betting playbook for these two huge knockout games. This is where we turn all that strategy into action.
So for Algeria versus DR Congo, the main bet is an Algeria win, with a great value play being under 2.5 goals. Then, for Ivory Coast versus Burkina Faso, the main bet is an Ivory Coast win, with both teams to score as a really strong value option.
See how these picks are designed to match the likely flow of the games themselves? It's not just about picking the team with the lower odds.
And this brings us to what might be the most important point of all. The goal isn't just to pick winners, it's to adopt the right mindset. Successful tournament betting is never, ever about luck. It is always about logic.
This quote just sums it all up perfectly. Knockout football is about patience, not chasing big odds. It's about making disciplined, informed decisions based on the evidence you have right in front of you, not getting swayed by emotion or those tempting but unlikely long shots.
So how do you actually build a logical strategy? Well, it really just boils down to these 3 pillars. First, you have to analyze recent form. Second, investigate the squad situation. Are there any key injuries or suspensions? And third, you have to understand the context of the match itself. Is it a cautious knockout game or a desperate all-or-nothing affair? And that's really the question I want to leave you with. As you look at these games and make your own decisions, just ask yourself, is my strategy built on solid logic, or is it being driven by emotion? The answer to that question is going to make all the difference. Good luck.